Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. We finally have our official matchup, and it's going to be Harris and Walz versus Donald Trump and Vance. And this is very, very special because we have been waiting quite a long time for this matchup. You know, Biden had dropped out recently and Harris had taken his position, and we were all wondering who Harris was going to pick as her VP, and she ended up picking Walz. I would have thought that Shapiro would have been a better choice, but she ended up picking the governor of Minnesota. I don't know how it's going to play out exactly, but a lot of people have been saying that it has been a bad choice. I don't know too much about that yet. I'm not going to make opinionated beliefs and comments, but I'm going to say that I do believe Shapiro would have been a better choice for the state of Pennsylvania, but we'll just have to see about that. Either way, I think it may just about balance out with Vance. This is still a Trump versus Harris matchup. I don't think VPs really make too much of a difference in any sort of election cycle. Pence didn't really make too much of a difference in 2016 and 2020, and same with Harris in 2020. She was pretty unpopular, yet she didn't really make too much of a difference to Biden's performance, I believe. But now we're going to be going into this prediction. But before we get started on that, it's time to really analyze some of these polls, because Harris has been experiencing a bump, a pretty good boost since she was named the nominee. And she hasn't been officially named yet because the convention hasn't begun, but she is going to be the nominee. And unless something crazy happens, this will be our official matchup. You never know in today's world what might happen, because this election cycle is already pretty historical with all the events that have unfolded. But here we have the matchup. Trump versus Harris. I think 30-party candidates are going to be less of an impact nowadays compared to when it was Trump versus Biden. She's up 0.5% according to all the recent polls sampled between the 22nd and the 4th of August. And I think here we see that, even though Trump still leads a couple, but the most recent ones, the most recent 5 over here, Harris does have a pretty sometimes a very, very tiny lead, and sometimes it's a little bit larger. Overall, I think right now what's going on is Democrats are being oversampled a lot. However, we cannot ignore the fact that she has been gaining among Biden. I think if we compare the two elections that would occur, she would probably do around 2 points better than Biden as a whole. But I believe these numbers are going to come down back after all the hype settles down, because now a lot of the attention is on her VP pick, and the DNC is coming up, so all the attention is going to be on the Democrats. And for some reason, I checked some of these polls. I don't know why they have been oversampling them so much, but either way, she does still lead by 0.5%. And on the statewide level polls, which matter probably more in this election, Trump has a lead in all of them except the state of Michigan. We can see here in Arizona, in Nevada, in Wisconsin. In Michigan, we see here Harris leads by 2, but that's because of this outlier poll where she leads by 11. In Pennsylvania, Trump leads by 1.8. In North Carolina by 3, and in Georgia by 0.8%. And I think it's very important for Donald Trump to be able to win the states of Georgia and Pennsylvania, because that will put him over 270. And we're going to compare this to the day in history 4 years and 8 years ago, and I'm going to tell you this is why I don't really trust the polls too much, because back in the day, Donald Trump was down 6.4% to Biden and 7% to Hillary Clinton in August 7th of that respective year. And this is why I believe that even this time around, once again, the Republicans are going to be, especially Donald Trump, is going to be underestimated. I think to a smaller degree. These pollsters are definitely trying a lot harder to get this more accurate. But even so, we see with that sampling where Democrats, let's say, are 40% of sampled and Republicans are at 35. It's not going to be a D+5 electorate whatsoever at all. If anything, it's going to be Republican favored, maybe R+1, maybe tied, something like that. So I think the actual popular vote, what I believe right now, is going to be probably tied or R+1. And that's what I'm going to base my map off of and my official first prediction with all these candidates coming together. And we're going to start with these safe states. 12 points are over. Donald Trump is going to be gaining all his safe states that he usually wins. He's going to have all of Nebraska except the second. All the safe states down in the southern part of the United States, the traditional Bible Belt, and then adding the states of Iowa and Ohio into that column. They're going to be safe states. He won them by around 8 to 9 percentage points when it was around a D+4 environment. This time around, he's going to win them by over 12 percentage points. And I can't really relate to polling to much of these states because there is none. I mean, there's not even a poll in Texas that we can even look at. All we can really look at is the individual polls in these 6 to 7 most important states. But looking at the national vote, we can definitely shift those states accordingly. Since we believe, according to polls and according to metrics alone, not my personal opinion, the election, the popular vote, will shift 4 points to the right as of now. I do believe it'll be around 5, but right now 4 points to the right would even put these alone, taking away trends. It would put these 2 states alone in that safe column. But moving on to Democrats' safe states, Hawaii, all these states up in the West Coast, Illinois, all these states up in the East Coast except New Jersey. New Jersey will not be in that safe column. New York will go back in that safe column, and we have Maine's 1st district in that safe column as well. And that will give J.D. Vance and Donald Trump 148, and then Harris and Walz 167. And now going into our likely states. First with Republicans, the states of Texas and Florida, more than ever now, have been secured in that likely column. I do not believe they will be going into that safe column. I believe right now that likely column would be the best fit for them, between 6 and 12 percentage points. The state of Texas will probably be similar to what it looked like in the 2016 election, where Donald Trump won it by around 9 percentage points. And Florida will probably be the most Republican it has been in a very, very long time. I think it's going to overpass Texas at this point or vote in line with it, probably around R+9 as well. And then we have the 2nd District of Maine, which will be going down to the likely column from safe, probably around R+11 right now. Trump won it by 7 in 2020 and by 10 in 2016. I think because Democrats do very well in Northeast and because they did receive a little bit of a boost from Harris coming on, right now I do think that this will be the case. This will be the margin in Maine 2nd, but it could change very well. And I think that especially nowadays, all these predictions always change, and that's why we have to continue to update them. But going into Harris's likely states, first of all, the state of Colorado will fall probably right under that 12-point margin, right between 2016 and 2020, probably a little closer to 2020. This is a very left-trending state. And with Biden, I thought maybe it would be in that lower end, but now with Harris, I think it'll be a little bit on that higher end. But next is going to be the state of New Jersey, which will be probably closer to that higher end, around 10 to 11 percentage points. Things could change. We do not have any polling. But coming from the polling that we did have with Biden, where Trump was even leading, we can say that Harris is not going to do that much better in the state to put it in that safe column as of now. But now we are going now to our 128 electoral votes that remain. And these are the states that are going to be under 6 percentage points, which means these are the ones that we're all going to want to look out for on election day. These will be the closest states margin-wise and the most competitive. They do range from states like New Mexico, which will be more on that safer end, all the way down to Michigan, which would probably be a coin flip at this point. But speaking of New Mexico, it's going to be the first state to go in that lean column for Harris. Once again, there has not been any polls. This is coming from a 10.8% win from Biden in 2018 and an 8.2% win for Clinton in 2016. But now that this state has been, I think, trending a little bit to the right, and that's mainly due because of those Hispanic trends, and we see it carrying around a lot in these other states that are very heavy Hispanic. That's the only reason why this state will be going down to that lean margin. It is a plurality Hispanic state, the only one that is plurality majority Hispanic state, sorry. And next we're going to be going to the Northeast to fill out the states of New Hampshire and Maine as lean Democrat. And these states will be lean Democrat for various reasons. They did vote for Joe Biden by 7.4% and 9.1%, and they will come down probably closer to that 2016 margin. But right now, I'm going to be a little bit safe with New Hampshire, put it in that lean margin for now until we get more polling to show that it could go in that tilt margin. The polling that we did get did support my argument of the state going into that lean margin. But now moving on to the state of Virginia, which will be going also in that lean margin. Many people could have and did predict that Trump would actually take the state over Biden. Many of the polls indicated that he would do extremely well, given the fact that this state voted for Biden by 10 percentage points. But with Harris now, I think it'll be a little bit more Democrat. She doesn't really have too much appeal to this area over here, which is why I think she will not do so much better than Biden. Right now, I think she will win the state by between 2 and 6 percentage points, probably around 4 percentage points on this map. And the final state for Democrats in that lean column will be the state of Minnesota. And the only reason why it will be moving from tilt to lean was because of the VP choice. I do not think it will make much of a difference, but it will do enough to put it in that lean column. I would say right now Minnesota will probably be around a 2 to 3 point win for Democrats. Republicans, on the other hand, will win the state of North Carolina in that lean column. North Carolina is a state that has been voting consistently Republican since 2012 by very narrow margins. This time around, Trump did lead a huge amount against Biden, and right now he leads Harris by an average of 3 percentage points. I think he's going to win the state by a little bit more than his 2016 win, around 4 percentage points on average. And I think the states of Arizona right now and Nevada are still going to be in that lean column, mainly because of the horrible appeal that Harris has in this area. She doesn't really have appeal in too many areas, actually, besides probably some African-American votes in the South. But either way, she is a pretty bad candidate. Her approval rating had been pretty bad up to now. Right now, it's been shooting up like crazy, and that's not possible that her approval rating was so bad, and now it's shooting up like crazy. And that's once again the response bias that I had pointed out. But we do need to wait a little more to see how accurate that is. I mean, Biden's approval rating is also shooting up like crazy, and it just doesn't make sense how people could approve of Biden's job as president after he dropped out just because he dropped out. I mean, they might be happy that he dropped out, but it doesn't mean that they'd approve his job as president. So we're going to have to continue to monitor the situation. But going back to Nevada and Arizona, these states have a lot of people from California that have fled the state, and Harris is from California, and despite what people might think, she is not approved of very well in her own state because of the unpopular policy that she did run on. So I think especially in Nevada, people are going to reflect that. I mean, the polls even say the same thing. Trump is up 2.8% on average and 4% in the state of Nevada. Not much polling, but enough to put it in the lean states for the Republicans, Donald Trump and JD Vance. And now we have 252 to 225. And we're going to be going now to the closest states. These are the states that I believe will be in that tilt column. First of all, getting Nebraska second out of the way. Right now, a left-trending district. Got redistricted to be a little more Republican, but still, I think is going to vote for the Democrats by around 1 to 2 percentage points. And now moving on to the final 4 states. First of all, the state of Georgia coming down from the lean status to the tilt status, mainly because of the polls we have seen that have been tightening between these two candidates. Trump is only up 0.8%, and I think he's still going to eke out this state. It's very left trending, and this is probably one of the states where I could say that Harris will do a little bit better than I expect, and that's because of a lot of the African-American vote in the Atlanta area and all the suburbs. I think the young people, especially there, will reach out for her much more than all these other Sunbelt states because there is a lot more blacks living in Georgia than, let's say, North Carolina, Arizona, and Nevada. So that's why I think she'll do the best in that state. In the state of Wisconsin, probably the easiest state to call for Trump out of all of them. Right now, the polls are extremely tight. Let's remember how much Democrats do get overestimated in these states. 6.4%, 5.6% in 2020 and 2016 respectively. Right now, Donald Trump leads by 0.2%. I can say right now, especially in a state that voted for Biden by around 20,000 votes, this is probably the most likely state to flip for Donald Trump in the Rust Belt. And that right there would put him over the top, 278 to 226, with 2 more states left. The state of Pennsylvania also, I believe, will be going into that tilt column. I could say with Shapiro on the ticket, it would be a lot harder to call this state. But we can see here with Trump with Waltz on the ticket, I do not think it'll make too much of a difference at all. I mean, even that Bloomberg poll that came out where most of the states did shift to the left, for some reason, while Michigan went D plus 11, Pennsylvania went R plus 4. And that right there doesn't make sense at all. But going just off of that alone, we can say Pennsylvania will be going in the Republican column by around 1 percentage point. And then probably the most close and hardest state to poll and make a decision on would be the state of Michigan. But right now, once again, I give it to Trump and Vance, probably by less than half a point, similar to the 2016 election where Trump only won by 0.22%. I think this is going to be the closest state in the entire election. And I don't think it'll even be called on election night because of how close it is. And we all know how close some states could be in counting their own votes. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But this is going to be our final map, 312, 226. I will update this map very shortly, but for now, this is what it's going to be. I think right now Donald Trump does have the advantage in winning the election. And right now, the popular vote chances are probably tied in my eyes. But either way, even if Trump loses the popular vote, he's still most likely going to win the election just because of how our election system is built in the Electoral College. But that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment down in the section below. And check out my other videos. Thank you guys.